Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast, where we talk all about interiors with interviews with interior stylists, writers and the big names in interiors, from brands and PRs to artists and designers. I also catch up with industry experts in the know and get them to share all their knowledge and advice. There's so much to talk about. I'm your host, Emma Morton-Turner, an interior stylist and a writer with a ton of experience. I set up InsideStylist.com so I could share all that interiors love with you. So don't forget to head on over to the website for not only the show notes from today's episode, but for links to interior stylists, writers and assistants profiles, and a ton of inspiration. But for now, enjoy the show. Hello, I've got another solo episode for you today. I've been thinking of what I want to talk about for the last few episodes of the year, and like most people, when you get to the end of the year, you start thinking about all the things that you've done and experienced, and I hope, like me, you plan for the next year. But I wanted to really talk about some people who have inspired me throughout the year and made me change how I do things, maybe change my thinking. Because I think if I'm finding them inspirational, I think that you will too. There are quite a few people who've been on the podcast. Now, I don't want this to be an episode where I'm just sharing the podcast and it's a big promotional thing. It's really not about that. It's about when I go to speak to someone and record a podcast with them, I found out so much more about them than I was expecting. I've found out how people have overcome massive obstacles, how people work, and I found it truly inspiring. Some of it is people I haven't put on the podcast. Some of it is people I want on the podcast. Some of them are people I've met through work. And I'm hoping that you can take away just a snippet of what I have experienced this year, because I think the more I share, the more I can help inspire you. So the list is not very long. There's a few people mentioned in some of them, so it's more than 8 people. But so the topic, as you will see from the title of this show, is 8 ways interior people have inspired me this year who will inspire you too. There's a few in there that have more than one person in each group. So I'm not going to waffle on. I'm just going to get straight to the point. So the first person is Clarissa Hulse. Now, I met Clarissa in person when I very first went freelance, and I did one of her workshops. And when I went to interview her a month or so ago, I was really surprised by her story. She overcame pretty much bankruptcy and just had such drive and vision and this never give up attitude. And I really wasn't expecting it. I have only ever seen her success. I absolutely love her way of turning images and shadows of seeds and nature, turning them into the most beautiful fabrics. And obviously she has lots of products. She's got lampshades and bedding, and her backing cloth is one of my favourite things ever. She has the backing cloth from her screen printing, and she wraps soaps with them. So if you are still looking for a present, God, I think that is the most perfect present. Mainly, now I'm going to go off topic, but mainly because I'm trying really hard to buy bar soap, not have plastic pump soaps, and all the bar soaps I've been coming across are in plastic wrapping. For God's sake, I'm trying to be green. So Clarissa Hulse, double whammy with her backing cloth. But I'm just I would unwrap it and put it up on the wall. I'd frame it. So anyway, she was massively inspiring. And after I recorded the podcast with her, I just couldn't stop thinking about her story. And I've had so many messages about her episode. She was only a few weeks ago. She was episode 74. So if you want to have a listen, actually, I will just mention if someone's in a podcast, you can go to the show notes on Inside Stylist, or even if you're listening on Apple Podcast Play, you can just find the show notes and all the links will be on the podcast too. So you can find the people I mentioned straight away, rather than me making it into some promotional thing. Anyway, yeah, so she was the first person. The second is 2 ladies, Karen Hulse and Marianne Shillingford. Now, I've talked about them quite a lot recently. I was very honoured to have them as part of the Stylish Supper Club event expert panel. We were just chatting, and Emma, Mary and I were very honoured to have them as our guests. And I've talked about them quite a lot because the way they have affected how I see colour is huge. I was shopping with my daughter yesterday, and I was picking up clothes and going, nope, not my colour. Nope, not my colour. And whereas before I would have just gone, oh, that's really bright, I love it. I would just pick it up and buy it. Now I understand that it looks great for now, but actually when I get home and put it on, I will realise that something isn't quite right about it. And that stems from talking to Karen and Marianne about how colour works in the home, how it works in branding, how it works in fashion. And, to be honest with you, it's completely changed the way I see everything. And I know I go on and on about this, but it really has made such a massive impact on me. I do see things very differently. And having been in interiors for so long, you kind of think you know quite a lot about how things work, but it's really, really interesting. And this week, Pantone announced their colour of the year, and it's classic blue, which is a very quite a bold blue, and it's an inky sort of dusky sky is what they've called it, and it's very much a nod to nature. So it's very interesting when Marianne talks about the colour of the year for Dulux, and that's Tranquil Dawn. It's all about bringing nature into your home, and Pantone has done it, but just from the sky and the sea. And Tranquil Dawn is obviously like the greenery of plants and foliage. So although they're two completely different colours, and one's quite bold and one's quite soft and muted, they're both trying to send home that same message. And understanding that makes you understand how people can use it in their homes. And again, fashion, branding, all sorts of things. But just those two women really, really changed how I see things and changed how I'm inspired by colour, how I use it everywhere. Karen Hulle's book, The Little Book of Colour, is fascinating, and I know that Karen and Marianne are going to be doing workshops in 2020. I will share that when they announce it, because I am desperate to do one of their workshops and understand on a deeper level. Actually, what I'd really like to do is one of Karen's colour, I think it's personal colour workshops, so you can really understand what season you are and what colours work for that season. I'd really, really love to do that. Anyway, I will keep you posted when those workshops go live, because I know they've got lots planned. Unsurprisingly, my third person who's inspired me this year is my Emma Mary, who is interior designer, and we met up early. In fact, I think it was January when I said to her, we need to do something together. And Emma came up with a brilliant idea of the Stylish Supper Club. And at the time I thought we were just going to do one event, but actually it's become a whole kind of sideline of meeting like-minded people, bringing stylists and designers together. But what Emma has taught me and has massively inspired me is the way she has extreme organisational skills. And Emma's skill at organisation is brilliant, and in this year I have learnt so much from her, and I changed how I do my to-do list, which I think I'm going to bring into the success planner that I'm going to share with you in a couple of weeks, because it's been brilliant just having a brain dump and having everything on one list and seeing that you need to keep all your plates spinning, as she said. It's just been brilliant, and it's really changed things for me, and it's made me feel much more calm because I've got everything in a very easy to find format. I know what I'm working on. I know what's missing. I know that if I haven't ticked off a box for my personal life, I need to make sure I've got the blog ticked off. I need to make sure I've got so many different areas that I need to be looking at all the time. And her to-do list has really helped me with that. So thank you for that, Emma. I interviewed Emma after our very first brunch in June. Yeah, and that was really good. I was I said to her I wanted to have her on the podcast to chat, but really it was so I could get really deep dive into how she stays organised. So if you want to be organised, go listen to her episode. Number 4 is Nicola Snell. Now, Nicola Snell is the brains behind Pressloft. And she started off as a PR. She had her own PR agency, and then she found she had this need, and something needed to be automated to make life so much easier for PRs, stylists, writers, everyone who needs to get images for features. But actually what she's done is she's built this huge website that is just phenomenal. And although the interview I did with Nicola, she shares all of this, and you get a little snippet into what she does and how she thinks. But what you don't see is how incredibly supportive and helpful she has been to me personally. But she's an absolute role model. She is a super boss babe. She really, really understands how the interiors editorial industry works, but also how to make a business run successfully so that she's serving her customers and her clients to the best of her abilities. And she's very, very generously helped me and given me so much information. I mean, I popped in to see her. We had like an hour slot in her offices, and our meeting room was booked for an hour. And after that hour, we were kind of like, we weren't finished. So we had to go and get a coffee somewhere else just so we could carry on talking. And all she kept saying is, how can I help you? How can I help you? And I was thinking, no, I'm here to help you. And being around people like that, being around such supportive and just incredibly inspirational people who are just, you know, that far ahead of you, but want to help you get further forward in your own business. It's being around really supportive, like-minded, business-minded women. And I don't think Nicola knows just how much I appreciated that, but how inspirational that really was to me. And what she's doing with Pressloft, I think I really regret what I called that podcast episode. I think I talked about something about PR and how Pressloft is brilliant if you're a PR and you want to share the images, but actually it's so beneficial for stylists and writers as well. And she has these outreach, like influencer outreach for people to kind of connect with brands, to do work with brands. And I mean, I know stylists who've been using this as well, and I do mention that in the podcast, but I feel like I've named the podcast so that would probably put stylists off listening to it. So if you haven't listened to that one, please go and listen to it. She was episode 71, and it's just listening to her talk and hearing behind the scenes and what she's got planned and how just she tries to make the website run so well was just fabulous. So I definitely owe her a lunch or a dinner or a drink or two, just so I can be around her and talk more. Right, I need to talk about some stylists. There are so many incredibly hardworking stylists out there. I really could list hundreds of them. But there's two people who I have quite a lot of contact with, who I have seen up close a little bit more so this year than in the past. And they just work their socks off. And they are so successful and so busy and so on it. And they may be dropping balls, but I'm not seeing anything like that. I just see them ploughing through their work, and they're so incredibly amazing at their styling and at their organisation and at keeping everything going. And they are Pippa Jameson and Sally Cullen. So I had the pleasure of working with Pippa in the summer. She was doing a job for Next, and she needed an extra stylist to come along and help on the interiors for the fashion shoot. So I went away with her for the best part of a week, and I haven't worked with Pippa since I was an assistant, and I absolutely adore Pippa. I've known her for a very long time. So I was quite happy just to be going and hanging out. But it was just brilliant seeing how she works, because you never get to see how other stylists work. It's quite a funny thing. You just think, oh, there's bound to be things they've got great tricks up their sleeves on how to, you know, deal with packing props up or keeping on top of propping lists and things like that. But I just adore Pippa, and seeing her so calm on the craziest shoot I have ever been on. On the last shoot day, there were 45 people on set, and we were in a house. It was crazy, but Pippa was fabulous. The other stylist is Sally Cullen. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I interviewed her. I think she was my first interview of the year. We interviewed something like the 3rd of January because I had to get her before she started, because once she starts, that's it. There are no days off. She is such a hard worker, and she is the person behind. She asked me if I was doing the Christmas drinks. Had she not done that, I probably wouldn't have got that off the ground. So thank you for that, Sally. And she also shared it with all the people who I didn't know. So that was brilliant as well. But she is also so hardworking. And when you talk to her, and when I was interviewing her on the podcast, I think she downplays it a little bit, but she is so busy all the time. And they're not small jobs. They're like week-long shoots back to back, but she just has it all down. And I remember at Easter, she sent gifts to her clients, and I just thought, my God, I can't even get my kids Easter eggs. How are you getting them sorted for all your clients? She's just phenomenal. So those two ladies, very inspirational. I would love to be able to work as hard as you, get as much done, and look like I've got it all under control. I think you've got it under control. And if you haven't, you're hiding it very well. The next group of ladies I want to talk about are slightly connected to the shoot I did with Pippa. There are 5 assistants who have grouped themselves together, and they're called Archipelago. And I can't remember exactly what that means. It's something about a group of creative people coming together as one. I think that's loosely termed what it is. And they are 5 assistants who have met on various jobs and got on incredibly well. And now they kind of come as a team, and they've set up a blog. And actually, I've linked through to their Instagram. So if you can find them on Instagram, you can find their blog, but it's good to go and see what they're all up to. There are 5 of them. They are Alex Rainbird, India Jackson, Jade Gallagher, Hannah Sevick, and I know I'm pronouncing your name wrong, so Hannah, sorry, and Charlotte Murray. And 3 of them were on the shoot with Pippa, which is how I got introduced to their little group. And they're just so passionate about interiors and so smiley and just really experienced. I don't think many of them will be stylists' assistants for very long. I think they'll be off doing their own thing very soon. But now I just love it that they group together. I love what they're doing. They're really, really passionate and very good assistants. I've worked with 3 of them. They are very good assistants. In fact, have I worked with them all? In fact, the only one I haven't worked with actually is Charlotte. But I know Charlotte from outside of assisting. So I would recommend any one of them. Now, there are lots of other stylist assistants. I'm not saying that these are the only ones you should hire. Of course, there are lots of others I've worked with and who have assisted me and has been great. But I'm just really calling out the whole archipelago grouping and how they're pulling themselves together. Something else, I've probably mentioned it a few times, but I bumped into a friend at an event last week, and I was saying, she assisted me when I was at Woman in Home. So it's always worth watching the assistants, because they could be running whole, I was going to say homes departments, but this friend is actually one of the hubs at Time Inc. And, you know, the assistants are tomorrow's up and coming stylists, so they're so important to watch. Also, I know that a number of these assistants now do a lot of propping for mainstream stylists. So, you know. The next one is Emma Detterding, who is the interior designer behind Kelling Designs and also KD Loves. Now, I just recently did a shoot for KD Loves, and I interviewed Emma, back in the summer, I think. And I was talking to her about colours. She's got such amazing colour combinations and pattern clashing, but not clashing at all. And I asked her about colour in the interview, and she said there's no such thing as clashing colours. Everything just goes. And although I know what she means that if you love something, you should have it. But I think she doesn't realise just quite how amazing she is at what she does. I think she sees it and can pull it together and it looks amazing. And when she said this to me, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. It's a subtle bit of orange in one pattern and a bold bit of orange in another. And then she puts them together and they work perfectly. But you can't just pull any old pattern together. And I'm fascinated, and I love to watch people kind of, once you know that about someone, you want to see them do more colour together and more room sets and more designs. And when I went to her house and saw how she lives, I'm just even more bowled over now, because her designs are just spectacular. Also, sneaky peek, they've got loads of she goes to India and brings back saris, so they have these limited edition lampshades made from saris, and they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. So I just can't stop thinking about her. I'm very inspired by how she uses colour, how she just finds a trim and has to add it onto a cushion, or the double thickness of a trim on a cushion, or a frill, or she's got like a silk sari trim on a velvet cushion. It's just how she pulls together different fabrics and textures and colours and patterns. And my mind is just whirring with it. And I got home from the shoot and I just thought, I need more textures and colours and patterns in my home. I just need more of that. It's very uplifting. It's the orange. I'm always thinking pinks and oranges when I think of Emma Detterding. I can't wait to show you the shots, because the products were brilliant, especially the lampshade shot. The lampshade shot was brilliant. And anyway, the last one is Furnishful. Now, Furnishful I interviewed. In fact, they were the very, very first interview I did. This January, just gone, January 2018. So Jason and Efwa have set up Furnishful, which is a website where you can pull together lots of different brands and put mood boards together and find products that you're looking for from different places, and just create mood boards and vision boards in one place. But I have met up with them a couple of times since the podcast recording, and they're very business minded, and it was really interesting to hear where they're going, how they're moving forward. But also, again, a bit like Nicola Snell, they just told me things I had no idea existed in the business world, and it really helped me, and it was really lovely. And again, they weren't trying for me to kind of mention them. They just wanted to help. And it was really, I'm just really inspired by people who have such a good, clear business mind. And I'm still learning what I'm doing. I'm still trying to move forward. But when someone can say, oh, have you tried this? And have you heard of that? It's just really good to be around other people who are trying to do something online and help other people. And they are very much like that. So Jason and Efwa, who actually are expecting a baby very soon. I don't think that's a secret. Like I think in January even, so super soon. So I'm very excited to see the baby, to have a baby cuddle, but also just to see how they're moving forward, because they've got such huge plans. So they're the people that sprang to mind as I was lying in bed this morning. I don't know if you can hear, but I'm up in my loft bedroom and it's just started to absolutely tip it down. And the rain is starting to hit the windows. And that's exactly where I was this morning when I was like, what shall I record today? I really do need to get a podcast out tomorrow. It's really coming down now. So anyway, that is it. I hope it's been interesting. I really hope you go and check out these people, because I think there is something in there for everyone. Who, if you're doing interiors, there's something you can get, whether you're looking for inspiration for your colours, whether you want to pull a mood board together, whether you want to see how other stylists work. There's just something for everyone. Oh, you must be able to hear that rain now. Crazy weather. Anyway, I'm going to go now, edit this so I can get it out for you first thing on Monday morning. Whatever you're doing, have a great week, and I will catch you really soon. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Inside Stylist podcast. You can find all the details from today's episode over in the show notes on insidestylist.com. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love it if you would head on over to iTunes and rate and review it. It's the best way to help other people find the show, and I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.